Hotep, you guys. Welcome back to the Chosen Few channel. I'm your host, Matthew Daniels, the writer, author, scribe, and bookworm. But I'm not just a bookworm, world. I'm the real bookworm. Make sure you get it right. And as always, may your name live on forever, and may your memory, family, never die. Y'all saw the title. Today we're talking about Vikings in America before Columbus. Yes, Vikings in America before Columbus. Now, a lot of people already are hip to the game. They know that Columbus did not discover anything. And a few people already know that the Vikings made it to America before Columbus. But did you know that not only did the Vikings make it to America before Columbus, they actually documented the trips, several of the trips to America. They were going back and forth to the North American continent. Vikings were going back and forth to the North American continent for a long time. So the book that I'm going to be coming out of today is the Vinland Sagas. This is actually Viking records from the 13th century describing how Vikings made it to the North American continent centuries and centuries and centuries before Columbus. So the first thing I want to do, I want to read a little bit out the introduction of the book, because I'm not going to be able to tell you guys everything that happens in the book, but there is a story that I'm going to highlight inside of the book that describes some of the things that the Vikings did while they were here in America. And it describes an actual battle with the natives. It describes trade with the natives, a battle with the natives, and it describes how several people were killed. But in the introduction, just so you can know where I'm going with this, it says, the Vinland Sagas are two separate works that were written down independently in Iceland in the early 13th century and belong to a literary genre known as the Sagas of Icelanders. The Vinland Sagas contain the oldest descriptions of the North American continent and tell the story of several voyages undertaken by people from Iceland and Greenland to North America around the year 1000. The first documented voyages across the Atlantic in which the peoples of Europe and America met for the first time. So this book that I'm going to be reading out of, the Vinland Sagas, describes the earliest recordation of Europeans making it to the North American continent and in interacting with the natives. So we're just going to go to a random point in the book. Now, remember, I told you that the Vikings were making several trips back and forth. So I just want to highlight what happened on one of those trips just to kind of give you guys an idea. Look, it says, the discussion of a voyage to Vinland continued as before, and people strongly urged Karlsefni to make the journey, Gudrid among them. Now, Vinland is what the Vikings called North America. They called it that because when the first Vikings made it to the North American continent, they found a lot of grapes and wine. Grapes and vineyards, and they were able to make wine, so they called it Vinland, which in their language they were saying wine land. So they called it wine land, which was Vinland. So when you see them reference Vinland in the text and in these sagas, they're talking about North America. So he goes on to say, once he had decided to make the journey, he hired himself a crew of 60 men and 5 women. So this is 65 people plus him, the leader of the expedition, going to North America. Centuries before Columbus, 60 men and 5 women. It goes on to say, Karlsefni and his crew made an agreement that anything of value they obtained would be divided equally among them. They took all sorts of livestock with them, for they intended to settle in the country if they could. Karlsefni also asked Leif for his houses in Vinland, and Leif said he would lend but not give them to him. There's a lot there that's important. You see how they are describing how they took livestock. They took several different types of animals with them. This is highlighting, think about it, family. This is Vikings in Europe, in Greenland and Iceland, taking the animals, that the livestock that they live off of in their area, on boats, taking it over the water, taking it to North America, bringing this new species here, and hopefully intending on settling in this. These people are intending on settling in this country, in the North American continent forever. And you see how he says that Karlsefni asked Leif for his house in Vinland in North America. The Vikings that had already came, they had made what they call long houses. Vikings lived in long houses, so they had several long houses that the earlier Viking settlers had built, and that they just left them there when they went back to Greenland, where they were from, but they intended on coming back. Remember, I told you they was going back and forth. So on this one voyage, the guy talked to someone who had already been to Vinland and was like, "Hey, can I use your house while I'm there?" And he tells them, yeah. So they're bringing animals over there, they're building structures, and some of them are planning to live there permanently. So listen what it says, family. After the first winter passed and summer came, they became aware of natives. So now we have one of the earliest descriptions of natives to the North American continent running into Europeans, the Vikings though, but Vikings from the European continent. A large group of men came out of the woods close to where the cattle were pastured. The bull began bellowing and snorting very loudly. This frightened the natives, who ran off with their burdens, which included fur pelts and sables and all kinds of skins. So the natives, I guess, heard them out there, heard them making noise, or someone seen them and came back and told the natives in whatever tribe they were in. They came to investigate. They came, they saw them, they seen the bulls snorting and making all kind of noise. They got scared and they ran off. So it didn't much happen with that encounter, but it was an encounter nonetheless. And so what ended up happening is the natives had ran to one of those long houses. While they were running away, they ran to one of those long houses, and they actually tried to get inside, but the door was closed, and the Vikings wouldn't just let them run inside. Perhaps they were trying to get in there because they were scared of the bull or the other animals. Perhaps, I don't know what they were thinking, but this is just what happened. And so the Vikings describe how they didn't know each other's language, so they really couldn't communicate, and they were trying to communicate. So what the natives of the land did, they began to open up their sacks and show the Vikings what they had in their sacks, and try to give it to them, but they wanted to trade. They seen that the Vikings had things, they had things, and they tried to trade the pelts and things that they had. But the Vikings say that they was trying to trade for their weapons, and they didn't want to trade their weapons, so instead they brought out food. So they traded with the natives for some milk or something that the Vikings said that they had. And the natives gave them fur pelts and clothes and things of that nature. So we even see here, and this is like written record, family. Like, we can't play games like Christopher Columbus discovered the North American continent. For one, we all already know that's a lie, but there are written records of people coming over here, interacting with the natives, trading with the natives, and doing all of that centuries before this guy. We really got to let that go. So look, he says the natives then set down their packs and opened them, offering their goods, preferably in exchange for weapons. But Karlsefni forbade the men to trade weapons. That's what I was just saying. He sought a solution by having the women bring out milk and milk products. So they traded the milk. He goes on to say, at this time, Gudri, Karlsefni's wife, gave birth to a boy who was named Snorri near the beginning of their second winter. Let me stop. So you see, I say at this time, Gudri, Karlsefni's wife, gave birth to a boy who was named Snorri. Now think about this, family. This is actually the first written record of a European being born in North America. This is like the first person. This guy Snorri, his mother Gudri, and his father Karlsefni. So think about that. You have the name of the father, the mother, and the name of the child. May their names live on forever, and may their memories never die. That's history. If you want to talk about quote unquote discovering America, you didn't discover nothing but the first Europeans over here. That's what they need to lay claim to. Throw Columbus away. But look, he says, near the beginning of their second winter, the natives visited them again in much greater numbers than before and with the same goods as before. So they came back and they did more trade, right? So they did more trade. They got in good with each other and they were all talking and whatnot. And so what ended up happening is everything was going good until one of the natives, they claim, tried to pick up one of the weapons of the Vikings, and one of the servants of the Vikings killed the native, and chaos ensued, and the natives ran off. Look, he says, at that moment, one of the natives had been killed by one of Carsephone's servants for trying to take weapons from them, and they quickly ran off, leaving their clothes and trade goods behind. So now this is going to spark the battle that I told you guys about, because one of the natives was killed. So of course they're going to have to come back and defend themselves. The Vikings know that they're going to come back and defend themselves. So they get on the defensive, and the Vikings, they always ready for war. They built for war. That's what they do. So they immediately, the leader immediately gave out orders. You guys here, you guys there, you guys there. This is what we're going to do when they come back. The Vikings was ready. So it says that the natives soon came to the place Karsephone had intended for the battle. They fought, and a large number of the natives were killed. One of the men in the natives group was tall and handsome, and Karsephone thought him likely to be their leader. One of the natives then picked up an axe, peered at it a while, and then aimed at one of his companions and struck him. The other fellow was killed outright. The tall man then picked up the axe, examined it a while, and then threw it as far out into the sea as he could. After that, the natives fled into the woods at top speed, and they had no more dealings with them. So you can see they came back ready for war, ready to fight. The two sides, they approach each other. One guy ended up picking up an axe. He didn't know what the axe was. Unfortunately, the native, he hit his compadre with it, killed him. I guess they were maybe afraid of the technology. That's the only thing I can think about that will make the native run away. Perhaps it was, it appeared to be new technology, and they didn't know if it was magic or what. I don't know what. Apparently they didn't have axes though, and they were afraid of that axe. And so it just ends up, it says, Karsephone and his companions spent the entire winter there, but in the spring he declared that he wished to remain no longer and wanted to return to Greenland. They made ready for their journey, taking with them plenty of the land's products, grapevines, berries, and skins. They set sail and arrived safely in Exford, where they stayed over the winter. So they stayed for a little while after that battle, but then they decided that they didn't want to settle in that country after all, probably because they didn't want to continue to have to fight, right? They didn't want to continue to have to fight. Who knows? The natives could always come back with more and more people. They don't know how many people could come back. So they ended up going back to Greenland. But yeah, family, Vikings in America before Columbus. There's documented records of this. We really just got to stop playing games, man. Thanks for watching. This is your brother Matthew Daniels, a.k.a. I'm Poof, a.k.a. The Chosen Few, a.k.a. The Real Bookworm. But I'm not just a bookworm, world. I'm the real bookworm. Make sure you get it right. And as always, may your name live on forever, and may your memory, family, never die. And remember, in the description, there's a link to a website, dandyandbigherm.com. All books written by me, the Scribe Matthew Daniels, is on that website. Click the link, support the channel, buy Matthew Daniels' book. It's a damn good read. Support literacy, man. I love you guys. Hotep, I'm out.